What is up, guys? My name is Gaijin Greg and welcome to my 6-month update video for my Japanese immersion learning journey. And yes, I finally have made it to half a year of immersion or refold or whatever you want to call it. And in my previous video, I've got a link to that down in the description below. I kind of talked about the start of my journey, why I'm getting into that, and I'm not really going to retread that ground, so you should go check it out if you haven't seen it. But otherwise, make sure you leave a like on this video. If you do like it, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell icon to make sure you don't miss out on future videos. I do have some ideas for non-update videos as these intervals start to get longer, so I'm pretty excited about that. But without further ado, let's get right into my current stats. So right now I'm at a total of 390 hours of Japanese study, and that's just a little over 2 hours and 7 minutes a day, which is still above my goal of 2 hours a day. And for listening here, I've got approximately 257 hours, vocab 95.5 hours, for grammar study just a little bit over 30 hours, and for reading I've got about 6.5 hours. I feel really good about keeping up with the 2 hours a day consistently, especially since I just got back from a week-and-a-half long trip to Italy. I didn't get 2 hours every day while I was there, but I was able to do a lot with the train travel days and make sure I didn't fall behind on too many hours of study. Also, I never missed a day of Anki, even if that meant waking up early. However, I also think it's important to give myself grace and accept the fact that some days I just wasn't going to meet the 2 hours a day. I mean, I was in Italy. That is really cool, and I have to be present and enjoy that experience for what it was. I really do think that's important. Before I get into how I've been feeling about my progress lately, I want to talk about what I've been using for each area of study. So for listening, I've been mostly using Learn Japanese with Noriko and Learn Japanese with Teppei and Noriko. I really haven't been hitting the podcast as hard these second 3 months of the process. For listening, I've also finished Terrace House, Boys and Girls in the City, and Aloha State versions, and I just started with the opening New Door season. I've also watched Classroom of the Elite and Shirokuma Cafe. So that's what I've been mainly using for listening. For vocabulary, it's pretty much the same as before. I've been doing the core 2K 6K deck on Anki, the pre-made deck. I've been doing the RRTK deck. I've been doing the katakana practice deck as well. And I also added in a pitch accent deck, but I don't know if that really counts for vocabulary. With the RRTK deck, I actually stopped taking in new cards because I don't know if it was super helpful in learning new vocab. I might start taking 3 cards a day again, but for right now I did pause those. For grammar, I finished Tae Kim's grammar guide and I have moved on to doing Japanese Amo with Misa. I've been going through her beginners playlist and taking notes and creating a couple sentence cards with grammar points on them. And finally, for reading, I've pretty much only counted my time or tracked my time if I've been reading the NHK News Easy articles. I still do some reading outside of that, like on Twitter and stuff, but I don't really count it because it's pretty informal and spur of the moment type things. Now that I've gone through all of that, I think now is a good time to kind of talk about my thoughts on the learning process in general and just how I've been feeling going through this. And to start, I really do feel like I've gotten significantly better since our last check-in. I think I understand a lot more, but it really does feel like I have so much to learn and it really can be daunting sometimes. Watching simpler shows like Shirokuma Cafe has made me feel really good though about my progress, but definitely shows like Terrace House that are much more native, or however you want to put that, definitely kind of ground me back into reality. The balance between the two has been really good. I think Shirokuma Cafe has really been the first time I've been able to feel the effects of comprehensible input, and while I still don't understand a lot, it does feel like the first show that I can fully enjoy in Japanese without worrying about missing out on huge chunks of information or plot points. It really does feel like I'm learning more since I have more context to everything that's going on. This is pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to more shows at a similar level, so if you do have any recommendations for me, leave them down in the comments below. I feel like I'll be able to find much more comprehensible input in the anime realm, since there could be a lot more stuff geared towards younger audiences, but I have heard warnings that too much anime immersion could lead to ruining your accent or making your accent worse down the road, or making you kind of sound like an anime character down the road. I don't know how true that is, but it does worry me a little bit, so I kind of plan on having one live action show alongside one anime show going at the same time, and I've been watching kind of the real TV with subtitles since the content is a lot more complex and native, and I've been watching the anime without any subtitles to really hone in on my listening skills, so that seemed to be working pretty good so far. I do feel like my mind has started to wander a little more during immersion lately, particularly when the content is pretty difficult, and I've been trying to look for more ways to stay focused. And oddly enough, I feel like this is carried over into stuff that I'm doing in English. Like sometimes I just feel like a space cadet lately, and playing games I love like Final Fantasy 16 has even been hard to focus on for some reason. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I think a lot of it has to do maybe with the amount of sleep I'm getting. I've noticed that in the morning or after naps, my focus and comprehension really does seem a lot higher. So maybe it is sleep related, and sometimes it can be pretty frustrating at the end of the day when I'm tired and trying to do some immersion, and it just feels like I'm performing so poorly and I get kind of a little mad at myself. But speaking of sleep, I have had some dreams in Japanese lately, which is cool. I really still don't know what's being said 100% of the time in those, so that's really interesting. I don't really know what to think of it or what it means, but I feel like that could be a good sign. So doing Japanese AMA with Misa, I really do feel like has helped boost my comprehension, and I also like it a lot more than Tai Kim. Even though Tai Kim did help me out and really did get me started, I just feel like reading through some of those grammar points is pretty hard when you don't know anything at all, and things really just got incredibly confusing. While Misa probably over-explains some concepts a little too much or provides too many examples for the pace I'd like to go at, I've been taking some notes and really trying to stick things to my memory better, and it seems to be helping. I'll continue to go through her beginner playlist until I finish it. Starting reading with NHK News Easy was extremely scary and hard at first, and it's gotten a lot better every time that I've done it, so that's been encouraging. I mean, the first time I did it just felt like a wall of kanji and hiragana and katakana that I would never be able to read, but it's gotten a lot better. And I know it's intentionally dumbed down to a very simple level so that I can understand it, but I really do think it's helping a lot in the comprehensible input department. It's also been serving as my main source of intensive or kind of the more meticulous immersion, which is definitely helpful. I never really feel like doing it when I'm watching TV shows because I kind of prefer a more free flow approach. But reading is really becoming more and more enjoyable, and I can see how it could definitely be a faster way to getting better at the language. But I do have some concerns, like I mentioned earlier with anime, about writing or reading too much kind of affecting my accent and kind of how I speak. And I also have some fears where, at least to me right now at my current level, it feels like a lot of times written Japanese is a lot different than conversational Japanese. So that also does lead me to kind of not want to read too much and kind of focus on listening as my main form of immersion. With reading, most of the time I do still feel like I'm translating rather than intuitively understanding the meaning of a particular sentence, and I think this could probably be due to me using or needing to use a pop-up dictionary quite frequently for words that I don't know yet. Oddly enough, it doesn't really seem to be the case when I'm listening. It feels like a lot of times when I'm listening I can kind of just understand the sentence without thinking of the English equivalent. I also don't practice output, but sometimes I can instinctively feel a Japanese thought without translating from English in my head first. I feel like this could be a good sign that the method is working, but I don't really know. I would say my Anki pre-made deck really continues to be one of my favorite parts of the process due to just how it reinforces consistency. I really just can't see why people hate Anki so much. I really do love it. I'm trying not to overdo it, and I still feel good with my 10 new cards a day, and it doesn't seem to be overwhelming. And I'm almost at 2,000 vocab, which is really exciting. I do feel like every vocab card really just gives me a better chance to understand a sentence when I'm listening, and especially so when I'm reading. And with vocab, reading is really just becoming less laborious. So I mentioned that I have a lot to learn still, and when I've begun to get intimidated by how much I do need to learn lately, I've usually tried to step out of my comfort zone with the language. That could be starting a new show or a podcast. It could be doing something like when I tried reading for the first time. Most of the time, that has really been the shot of motivation I need to keep on going. It really is hard to notice your progress day by day because the changes are just so small, and when you look at things on that scale, it just feels like you're not learning at all. But over time, it really is important to get perspective on the whole immersion process and really be able to realistically tell yourself, I am getting better. I'm not going to lie and say I never lose faith in the process, and when I do lose faith, I kind of go to progress update videos like this one on YouTube and see how other people who have been in the same shoes have gone through it, and really seeing how they've gone through and reached their goals. I really do feel like showing up, whether you feel like it or not, is the most important thing for achieving long-term goals. Motivation is fleeting, discipline is forever. And I've had to be very disciplined lately with an extremely busy summer. I've gone and tried to be pretty intentional about how I go about my language learning and trying to find a routine, but there's often a lot of things that will get you away from this routine. This summer, I've had road trips, I've had weddings to go to, I've been in weddings, I went to Europe like I mentioned, so all of those things are stuff that's going to take you off your normal routine. And how are you going to adapt and kind of make sure you still get done what you need to get done? But in a similar vein, and I mentioned this earlier, there are times where I need to give myself grace and realize I'm not going to get those 2 hours in that day. Maybe I need to make it up the next day, or maybe I just need to chalk it up. I was in a wedding this summer and I kind of realized like, hey, I'm going to do my Anki vocab and then I'm going to go enjoy the rest of this day and make memories, because you don't get some of those days back. So I can't waste 2 hours in such a precious day. I do kind of feel like I've been sacrificing my physical health a little bit lately for immersion learning, which really I'm not happy with at all. I feel like I'm just being lazy when it comes to kind of exercising. I know I can easily do both and have time for both in the day. I've just been kind of making excuses for myself, like I'm tired and feeling sorry for myself, really. There's ways I can totally combine them both into one activity and make things work better. I definitely feel like my sleep schedule or my ability to prioritize sleep has been worse lately, and I don't even think it's because of language learning, but I would just like to have a better kind of sleep schedule or sleep routine. But I think that would actually even help with language learning. But those are two concerns I kind of have right now with how the language learning journey has been affecting me. And one of the last things I kind of want to talk about is how I've been handling pitch accent, and the answer is I kind of don't know how to handle pitch accent and learn it. Some people say it's really important, others say it's not that important. Some kind of take an approach somewhere in the middle, which is kind of what I'm doing. I'm just doing the small Anki deck that Matt from Matt vs. Japan put out on this subject, and I've watched also quite a few videos on pitch accent, but I'm just not sure what to think. Like, I don't know exactly how I should go about learning it. I do notice pitch accent, I'm aware of its existence, but I'm not sure, should I be like actively studying it or directly studying it, or will I be picking up on it since I'm aware of it? And this is kind of another thing that if you do have any recommendations on pitch accent, I would love to hear them down in the comments below, so hit me up. But I know this was kind of all over the place in this section, so to sum it up, I've gotten better than what I was previously, but I have so much to learn and I'm really super excited about that. There's good days where I feel like I can almost understand everything in a particular episode or piece of material that I read. And I start to get a little cocky in my own ability, and then the next day, I really get pulled back down to earth, folks. I don't know why I would think after 6 months I'm any good at this language that is so different than English. Japanese is very difficult, but those bad days are just there to humble me, and you know, I almost understand nothing on those bad days, but most days are somewhere in between. So what are my plans going forward for the 6 months to 1 year mark? I really don't know yet if sentence mining is going to be super useful, even if I'm approaching 2K words in the deck I'm in. I really have done a few Anki sentence cards with grammar points, but nothing, you know, too crazy. I just feel like I need more vocabulary and grammar in general before I have better I+1 sentences to find. So I'm curious what you guys think about that, but I really want to focus on comprehensible input moving forward for this period of time and try to make some big leaps through that. I really want to be enjoying content as much as I possibly can by the end of year 1. I think, you know, finding more comprehensible input is going to help me with that. More intensive immersion, I think, is probably definitely needed at this point. I've pretty much done only free flow besides some of my reading, and I think it would be pretty useful on some of the more complex, like, live action shows that I watch to maybe do some more intensive immersion. So that's probably something I'm going to be trying to do a little bit more going forward. My next video will likely be my 1 year update video, but like I said, I do have some other video ideas cooking up for this channel, so make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon. I probably forgot to put some things into this video that I wanted to say, so if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to put them down in the comments below. Otherwise, let me know where you're at in your language learning journey down in the comments below. From not even started yet to fluent, let's talk about it. I'll see you in the next one.